Hi, this is Hot Topics Live, the podcast. I'm Kia, and it's your weekly reminder that you are amazing. You deserve to be living the best possible life possible for you. And whatever it is that you want to have, be, or do, you can. You can, but you got to do the work. Don't forget you're amazing. And we're going to talk more about that at the end of the show. So you probably noticed it's just me, and I usually have a co-host with me, but sometimes it's just me. Okay. And if you ever heard my other podcast, the Female Veterans Podcast, that's what it always is. But I do have an amazing guest. We're going to be talking about healing and breath work and something called Buddha mindset. Some of you OGs or people who have been watching Hot Topics for a long time will remember what Buddha mindset is. But if not, we're going to refresh your memory. And for you new viewers or listeners, we are going to be discussing that as well. We're going to talk about rebirthing and what that is. And we're going to talk about, what we're always talking about, how to be happier and living your best life and having fun and enjoying life. That's what we're going to be talking about. And my guest today is really amazing. She is a friend of mine. She's an incredible soul. She is across the world from me right now. And she is so disciplined. She's so talented. And I can't wait for you to meet her. So we're going to just have a great conversation. Feel free to ask questions and participate if you like. I'm happy to chat with you and hang out with you for this hour. We're only going to go an hour today because I'm on a tight timeline. I got to pick up my kid from school, and we're starting late because of the time change in the United States. So if you're watching in Europe, then you haven't been affected yet, but we have gone an hour ahead. And I hear we're going to stay there because our government is voting to keep it that way. So that's interesting. And I'm excited. So I particularly like hi, thanks for tuning in. I particularly like having more daytime. So oh, my girl is present and accounted for. Hi, Holly. Mwah. Love you, girl. Love you. Thanks for tuning in. So I'm going to introduce my dear friend Fran. Okay, she's a martial arts expert. She runs a business making honey, which I can't wait to hear what's up with that. She's a mom. Okay. She runs businesses. She's an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, actually, which are my favorite kind. And we're going to talk about so many things that can help you just feel your best and live your best. Period. So without further ado, let me bring her on.
Hi there. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Kia. You are amazing. One of my heroes. Totally. Following you all the time on social media to see what you're up to. Really inspiring person. I know some of your backstory from when you were my mentor on the Brian Rose course, and just awesome. When I tell people, yeah, we just kicked ass. We won the Olympics nearly every week, and Kia was our boss, but she's so sweet. It's not like she kicked our butts, but she's so gorgeous. She sort of gorgeoused us to success.
Is that possible? Can you do that?
I think it must be a possibility. You're nice.
I think what it is I nurtured you all to success. I have to ask people these days, what do you want? Do you want the hard, tough Kia, or do you want the sweet, nurturing Kia? And it's different for everybody, but I think that particular team really vibed with the sweet, nurturing Kia, and I was able to get you guys to success. So
yeah, it was really like that. Exactly, Holly. We were charmed, and I think we had some serious butt kickers in our group as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was a good team.
I think there was like 3 or 4 of us that were so obsessed with the ticking going green.
Yeah, that's right.
We did the horrible bit. I was quite encouraged once I realized there was a couple of others that were similar to me.
Hmm.
And we
You guys went hard.
hustled each other over the line. It was very funny, really, really amazing. So yeah, that was wow, a little while back now. I learned
Hmm.
such a lot. And now I've kind of woken back up again after, really difficult 12, 18 months. This is not unusual. I'm just applying everything that you taught us and that Brian taught us. I'm just straight back in there. But instead of it taking, I don't know how long it was, I've done it in a couple of weeks, because I just know the story, how to do it.
Hmm. That's the important thing. I think I love those accelerators. Right now we're doing all DeFi, and that's a completely different game. That is a completely different game, the DeFi game, and learning crypto and teaching people crypto. But it's the same. I call it the Rose method. I actually created a course around how I coach and what I've learned from Brian. Actually, when I do private coaching, and it comes with that sort of package
Yeah.
of that stuff, where when you're doing these accelerators and you're learning really quickly, there are some techniques you want to have in place so
Yeah.
that you can hit your goals a
Yeah.
lot faster. But honey,
Yeah.
I could go down a rabbit hole of that, and
Yeah.
that's not what this is about. I want to hear about what you've been up to. And so you took 18 months and just sort
Yeah.
of kind of went within.
Well, yes. It was a super interesting transition for me. And I really just had to go with the flow. So COVID hit. My eldest son, Sasha, who's a musician, had to come out of London rapidly. He caught the last plane back before the airports were shut. I never thought I'd have that sort of conversation where, okay, I really feel you need to get out now.
Mhm.
And he did. And luckily, he was able to finish the last month of university at home. And he lived in our, what we call a stuga, which is basically a shed in the garden. And he just wrote music. And that's what he did. I said, you are in every artist's favorite position right now. Stop complaining. Just get on with it. Shut the door and do your thing. And he was in an incubator situation. So this was like the really positive of it, side of it. But unfortunately, during that period, he started developing, well, a continued problem in the hip. And the tragedy of that period, there are two tragedies really, no, three, that really hit me hard. He was diagnosed with a autoimmune disease during that period, and I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name of it. I just found it all just so upsetting at the time. But for boys, it's on a time frame. Like if they don't get this sorted out, their bones start fusing together and the spine starts rolling over. I realized this really was his own path, but it was devastating at the time because as a parent, I really had to question everything I'd done in terms of his upbringing, how much of it was my responsibility. But I know in good faith, I took him through everything he needed to go through to help him be healthy and recover from some vaccinations that he received when he was 5. He received 3 and 4 on one session, which destroyed the health of his stomach, and he developed learning difficulties. It was mumps, measles, rubella, and diphtheria, but all on the same day because he was late, and the nurse just said, "Oh, he'll be fine." And it took us the blessing of this. It sent me on a sort of path of discovery about what's going on, the possible dangers of vaccines. How do I heal my son? So he was about 5. It took about 18 months of very intensive iridology, and herbalism and homeopathy. Iridology is where they diagnose by looking at the eye, the iris of the eye. This was an amazing journey. I learned masses during that period. And we got rid of his allergies, the works. He was really healthy after that. But So I did my bit, but then it looks like his university at lifestyle university, you know, I think must have knocked it back. So the hip pain started, and yeah, so that was really devastating. Then you know, it's easier as parents to cope with your own problems, but you see your kids suffering. Forward, that's very, very difficult. Then the beginning of last summer, George, my youngest, started to developing like some very strange habits, psychological habits from being bullied at school. And I realized my children were ill, and the biggest yes, right, Holly. What is she studying? You said she's studying, is it iridology or homeopathy?
Probably all of those, knowing Miss
Right,
Kelly.
because these naturopaths are just amazing, really need
Super
them.
naturopathic.
So that summer, I came to a realization that I couldn't do everything for my children. Yeah, right, both. Okay, fantastic combination. But what I realized is that they just needed me to be solid, basically happy and there for them. And last year I just went completely inwards. I just made everything simple. I mean, you know me, Kia, I'm a super multitasker. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I just burst into life and I'm really spontaneous. I work my ass off and I go for it and I love it. And that's me. But last year I cut everything away. I just went and got a normal job. Nothing wrong with that, but they just needed to be stable and there, and what can we say, not angry, not emotional, and not stressed. So I really went into kind of deep meditative yoga kind of state for that whole period, and I just shut everything off and out other than my children and me at the very center in a very unselfish way. So it's been really transformational. Yeah, I mean, wow, it's been quite a period, quite a time.
Wow, it sounds like it. So
Yeah.
I totally vibe with that because I do a lot of projects. Like I
Yeah.
have this, I do this. This is sort of my fun hobby podcast that I do.
Yeah.
And then I have the Female Veterans podcast, which is my purpose and my mission in
Right.
working with female veterans.
Right.
And then I also do London Real, so coaching there and working
Yeah.
with my students. And I didn't know that I would love coaching so much. I had no idea that that would be my path, but it
Yeah.
is. And I absolutely love it. And then I'm always doing other projects with those. So, for
Yeah.
example, there's a book coming. It's a group project of female veteran stories along. That's my purpose, my mission. So it goes with that. But then also, I love coaching, and a bunch of my podcasting students asked me to put together like an accountability group. So I've been working on putting that together. And then, you know, there's a documentary that's kind of my dream that I want to see. So there's been all of these other projects. And meanwhile, I was working so hard with coaching all of you guys and doing all these projects that I've been working on that my kids were kind of like, Mom, I went from being a stay-home mom to this
Yeah.
total workaholic.
Yeah.
And they were like, Mom, all you do is work. And I
Yeah.
worked 7 days a week, most hours of the day.
Yeah.
You know, if they needed something, I would go because I'm at home. So I would go, but it would be right back to work.
Right.
And and that's what it was. So I had to sort of I had burnout. And I was
Oh.
feeling so burned out. I didn't even know what it was because I never experienced it before.
Oh.
Not even in my original
Yeah.
corporate career before I
Right.
stopped being a stay-home mom. So I was just so overwhelmed because there was so much I wanted to do and to contribute and so much good I
Yeah.
wanted to put in the world that
Yeah.
my kids were like, you're stressed out. You are not present even when you are with us. And I mean, when my 6-year-old was telling me that, I had to take a step back and like calling me a workaholic. And I was like, you don't even know what that is. But did he? I think he did. So
You
I
put
had
two
to
and two together.
really decide what projects could wait, how to
Yeah.
prioritize things, and really make I always thought to me, my kids were such a big priority.
Yeah.
But as a single mom, especially,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to change that. I had to
Yeah.
shift
Yeah.
and really go towards being more present. So I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think, one way or another, the timing is somehow absolutely perfect. And that, at the time things may feel completely devastating, like really, really, really devastating.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yeah.
Just saw this comment.
What is this?
What is this? Gregory writes, what are you saying to me right now? They died. Okay, I'm just laughing at that. But thank you for sharing. Okay, I had family who fought on both sides of the Civil War, actually, and so it's an interesting history. Thank you for sharing that. Holly, you're right. Lucas is very smart. Holly actually is Lucas's, or actually Leo's godmother, was my kids. So she's one
Right.
of my kids' godmothers, and she's right. Lucas is really, really
Yeah.
smart, for
Yeah.
intuitive for a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, whoops! What did that say? I missed it. um,
On St. Patrick's Day.
you're 100% European. Well, I have a bit of Irish in me, so I really get into this holiday. Yeah, I clearly have a mixed ancestry.
I have a friend,
it's in there.
our women, we have like a woman leader in our karate association whose parents are from Indonesia. I think she was born in Australia, right? She did her DNA test. Among other things, the two things that stand out for me, apart from the Indonesian, she has Scandinavian and Native American Indian. Go figure.
I did mine, and I thought it sent me down like a rabbit hole of researching my genealogy,
Really?
because I got my blood work done, and I was like, oh, I was expecting, I think it's 73% West African, and I was like, oh, that was expected, right? Dating back to like the first women, though, that was not expected. I was like, wow, 10,000 years back. So
Wow.
which was really cool, right? But we all come from Africa, really. Like if you go back far enough. But then I was like, well, what is the other 24%?
Yeah.
And it was Irish and British. So then I was like, well, where is that at in my family? Because my family really didn't talk that much about. It's very quiet. We don't, for some reason, they didn't share a lot of the family history.
Right.
So, and that's been recent, like the great grandkids and stuff. We've been more digging into that stuff. And it was interesting. I was able to trace my father's side. The last name Baker is English.
Right.
And it goes back to 1300s. There's literally a family crest. There's a castle, and it's called Sissinghurst, that was in my family line. I'm actually British aristocracy, okay?
That explains everything, right? It's just bursting out of you.
Yeah, it goes way back. So if you do look up the Baker family line, you'll find that Sir Robert Baker was King Henry VIII's lawyer, his Lord Chancellor.
It's so fun. It's hilarious.
And it goes back further. I could only go back to the 1300s. I will have to go over to England to go any further back, but I'm going to do it at some point. And I'm going to go. Last time I was in the UK, I did not get to go to it's by Kent, Windsor-ish area, the Sissinghurst Castle. I didn't get a chance to go see it. So next time I'm going to go see it, and then I'm going to see if I can do more digging. I love that stuff. I think it's so fun.
Oh, me too. I want to get my husband's done because he's so long. And I know he's British, but at the same time, he was in a port area where the Danes were coming over. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if you've ever met like a really, really tall person, but I met a Dane who comes from the king's bloodline. And I'm okay in feet. I'm 5'6". I come up to his kind of chest, his chest.
Wow.
He's one of these guys who just go, hi. And he is enormous. And there was this bloodline in the Danes. There's like this giant, almost giant bloodline there. And it's so fascinating. I'm quite sure my husband has this, he's in this bloodline somewhere along the lines. He's got very, very long shins. Your shins are too long.
Lots of basketball players and professional wrestlers are super tall like that.
Yeah, it is so fascinating. It really is
interesting. Did you ever hear of a race of giants? Have you heard that story?
Oh, I've heard about it, and I've actually seen in America somewhere. You actually have graves with like 6, 7, 8 foot tall or more people in. This is, I've read it in books, and then when I saw, I don't know, a documentary and the photographs of the grave, this is awesome. What's this guy? So this guy, do you know Gregory?
I don't know, but you know what? It's funny. Like, that's the cutest trolling I've ever had. But anyways, I'm getting a giggle from it, so we're going to keep rolling with it. But you know what, Fran, I wanted to ask you a question because we could just chit chat for like the entire day, right? And I haven't asked you one question yet, okay? And I know that everybody is probably really curious about some of the stuff that I said we were going to talk about today. The first question I have for you really is what is rebirthing? Because you said that you were doing rebirthing and you were really into it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I met Lamia when I met you. And Lamia was on one of the other teams, but we've hooked up, and she is one of the most experienced rebirthers in Europe. Now, we're working together in true Kia fashion to do 100-day vlog. I called her up last week, and Joanna Charlton, she's a pain specialist. She coaches people out of pain. I'm not kidding. She takes them from being in pain to not in pain in a space of maybe about 6 to 2 months.
Oh, my friend Holly could use that.
I really want you to be in touch with her. I think you'll be fascinated.
For sure. We have to do an interview.
Yeah, she's an iridologist, PhD iridologist. That's her actual background. But she brought herself out of pain, and she's been starting to coach people in the same way. Now, I called her and Lamia. I said, hey, bitches, do you fancy doing a 30-day vlog challenge? And like, yeah. Then we got on the meeting and said, you know what? For some reason, I think 100-day vlog challenge sounds more cool. Idiots, they're totally up for it. Because I said, well, have you noticed that if people share your stuff, you get lots more views, right? So it's from a business perspective as well. It's not just for fun, okay? My actual reasoning behind doing 100 days is because by the end of 100 days, I will have the content for a book as well. So there's a whole bunch of thinking behind it. Anyway, Lamia says, hey, girls, I run a 12-week rebirthing program. So you can talk about my program. I'd like to offer it to you. I mean, this program normally costs about, I don't know, $3,000 or something insane. And I was like, well, I've heard about it. Okay. So please remember what I'm about to tell you won't really do it justice. And it's a completely individual experience. But when they call it rebirthing, it really is that. Okay. So the first week was fairly relaxing. I went through a lot of pain issues in my body, something that I was really holding in the back of my neck. Obviously, I've been fixing bodies all day today. So yeah, it's there a little bit. How did I experience first cleansing? I mean, I put it in a vlog, so it was really clear at the time. I just felt very sort of relaxed and clear in my chest, and almost like my heart was glowing. I had a tinkle in my heart, definitely sweet. Then I had my next number 2 I had this week. And okay, so this is going to sound so odd and difficult to understand. I literally experienced my birth again. And I mean, I was there, really there. So the way it starts is, and Lamia, this is all online, so she doesn't have to be there with you. Okay. So
I can't even believe that. It's crazy.
I heard about it. People talked about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. And they're raving about this rebirthing and so on. So it starts off with a series of a kind of breathing technique that she takes you through. I find it really hard work. Physically, it's quite challenging. Lamia is quite tough, and she's very experienced. She's like, "Come on, Fran, you keep doing it." She's in the background giving me a hard time. Okay, and you go through this breathing sequence. And then there was a point, I don't know how long it took, because you need to give about 2 hours to this in case it goes on. And I remember at one point saying, I'm aware I've stopped breathing. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. She said, no, I asked you to breathe out and stop. I had no idea. That's what she asked me to do. Then I have no idea how long that next phase took, but then something started to happen, and she said, what's happening? And I just literally said, I'm just passing through. I'm on my way. I was just literally speaking intuitively. And then I genuinely experienced my birth. Is the only words I have to describe it. Because you need to understand that obviously we didn't have words then, right? When we came out, it was just pure experience. So I'm having to try and describe pure experience, like I saw a face and light, and I am not going to give you any more details about the particular points, because it would absolutely spoil it for people. Mm-hmm. But what it has done for me personally is make me even more clear about why I'm here and what I need to do. It's given me real clarity about the truth of my situation and the world situation for me. So I know that I'm actually on the right track. And this is only week 2, guys. I mean, and one thing I'm really clear about, anybody that's listening, go and do it. If everybody rebirthed, the world would absolutely not be the place it is today. Okay. So it doesn't matter how much it costs. If you have an opportunity, find a really experienced rebirther and go do that. And not just once, you'll need a series. I really hope you get a chance to speak to Lamia about her work, because it's something else. It really is next level.
We'll have to invite her onto the show. I have actually a rebirther. He was on Ronald. We talked about Tantra a couple of episodes back. So if you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, you can scroll back through and look for Ronald's episode. But we were talking about Tantra, but he's also a rebirther. He's been doing it since the 80s. Yeah, he's going to come back on, and I'll ask him about it again. Really? But I'd love to talk to both of them, because I love to get a male and a female perspective.
Exactly.
At different times.
Exactly. And she's very into helping empathic people. And she trained and actually had the original teacher she invited him to Germany, and he stayed at her house. She was like a direct mentor. So it really is a way in to, that whole world. I'm very, very shocked, actually. And considering what I've come out of the last year, I wasn't able to work in my stuff, my entrepreneurial stuff, until 1 o'clock yesterday. In 6 hours yesterday, I got 2 days work done. I mean, it's made me almost hyper performer and with incredible clarity. So, hello, what a beautiful dog. So really, anybody, find a rebirther, do a course. It doesn't matter how much money it costs. It's going to make the world a better place. Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what sensations do you feel?
Yeah, well, that's what I was interested in, because the first week I thought, oh man, I've got all these sensations just because I'm breathing in this way. Like my hands were dead and my feet were losing sensation. I had tingling in all sorts of odd parts of my body. So I'm talking about the first session, right? And waves. This is the only way I can describe it. Waves of sensation through the body, round my head and like down my body and in front of my thighs. Intense discomfort and almost cramps in the center of my feet. Yeah. This was, because I think different parts get activated and you can think, yeah, it's just because it's breathing. But no, my session this week was completely different. I didn't have the intense pain where energy was, or muscle energy. I'm not just talking about energy, but like stuck here, because that was very, very painful the first session. Yesterday, day before yesterday, that wasn't there at all. And the numb fingers were not really, I had tingling fingers instead. I didn't have the pain and cramping in the feet or the waves. This was more of much more of an internal experience, I would say. And with the breathing, there was resistance somehow I experienced, and I had to really focus. She was there. Breathe, Fran. Come on now, circular breathing. Don't let that, because I kept wanting to stop breathing. Literally, I just wanted to stop. No, keep breathing. Because I set the bed out in here long ways so she could see how I was moving, whether I was belly breathing or what type. No, I need it like this. So this was a super internal experience, much almost more visual, and the passing through. When she said, "Where are you now?" I'm just passing through. Which was, clearly, once I came out the other side, that was clearly all like the birth canal. So it's really something. Yeah, maybe we don't want to do that again. I don't know.
So it's really like being reborn.
Really. And I would say, seeing as we intellectually understand that babies and children are all physical experience. They experience 100% of what the mother's going through. I definitely experienced that. And without details, it really explains some of my prejudices because of what my mother was going through at that time. It's almost like, if you have a blank piece of paper and you scribble on it with pencil and you try and rub it off, there's that mark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely left.
Interesting.
In her and ancestral impression in my body. So it's not just now, it's not just my mother. The first session, I actually felt the ancestral repetition in me being born over and over again. And the overriding feeling for me was, I'm actually okay with carrying this and clearing it in this lifetime. It's like the shit stops now with me. There's no need for anybody else to carry this.
Yeah, ancestral healing. A lot of people are experiencing that. And I actually just said something to some of my friends on Instagram, and it's a reminder, and I'm going to share it with all of you, that if you are doing healing work and you are clearing ancestral karma or doing generational healing, it's all of these types of terms that was passed down to you, do not forget the gifts that your ancestors also passed down to you. This isn't all about the negative stuff. There is a positive in this as well. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when you asked me to write a quick bio, of information, I'm just like, poor, my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, awesome women. And when I looked, those horrible old sepia photographs on the walls of big busted aunties and great grandmothers, really tough cookies. There's a lot just washed off from that. Who knew it would come to me in this form? And my grandmother on my father's side gave me my heart. Really gave me my heart.
Okay, do you mean is what she experienced like donating plasma? You pass out.
What a
Well,
nice.
if you don't breathe, if you're not breathing, if someone has to remind you to breathe, I think you could possibly pass out.
That's right.
So, yeah, it's what she's doing is it's a type of healing,
Yeah.
Gregory. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Because she's looking for a certain type of breathing as well. Like the first week I was belly breathing. No, I don't need this. I need a circular breathing. It's a very particular type of breathing to take you into that process. And obviously, I have no idea about the chemistry that takes part. I mean, I've done a lot of Wim Hof breathing. This is completely different. I mean, to my experience, it's not Wim Hof breathing. So, but it's still a type of circular breathing that she wanted.
I'm sorry, he tickles me. he tickles me. Okay. Yeah, well, maybe you should try rebirthing instead.
Yeah, I think you might need it.
Yeah, right? So we're talking about all this breath work, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your breathing course. So as a serial entrepreneur, it's not unexpected that you created a course around breathing.
Yeah. I after, let's see, if we go back 2019, before I met you guys, I had a hip operation. And I learned something very sacred about breathing during that period, and the healing capacity of breathing. And then the next year, I was then working up towards doing my 4th Dan black belt in the September. So it was quite a sort of 18 months later was my grading, and that's what really got me well. Also, that sort of level of motivation and just having an aim. And I started doing yoga practice to put the balance back in my body, which of course involves various breathing techniques, or at minimum tuning in to your body through breath. And it just came to me. I'm sorry, I'm not psychotic, but I heard it's all about breath. I was like, oh, that's really okay. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And it kept coming back to me. It really is all about breath. Okay, so I started focusing more on breath and going deeper into that. I hooked up with a breath coach here in Sweden, and started looking more and more at the experts out there and what they were teaching and what they were saying about it. And I got into a breathing practice that took me into very much a peak flow performance state. And at the same time, yes, it is, Rhonda. It is all about breath for sure. And it can be on a physical level, but once you do it for long enough, it becomes about the real pran level or chi level. Pran, I feel, is slightly different.
This.
Right. So great. So I experienced directly through having an aim what it did for me and my exam, my karate exam. My aim for the karate exam was not necessarily to pass. Of course, I'm there to do that, but to do it in such a way that I felt like I'd really nailed it myself and was in this sort of perfect state with access to my brain, my memory, the works. Yeah. And I know it was through breath that it happened. And I was working really into breath work. And so then when it got really difficult last year, I focused even more on breath work and how I could apply it to keep my state in balance. I mean, the first thing I noticed was that I didn't get angry anymore. I didn't have flashing anger. I had a lot more patience. And if I, for some reason, couldn't do my breath work for 2 or 3 days, then it would start to creep back in again. Now I'm at a place where I rarely get angry. When stress starts to bubble up, I automatically do a breathing technique. And it's starting to really become embedded into my system. My next project, though, and this is to take apart all the yoga books that I've got some really fantastic yoga books, Anatomy of Yoga, Iyengar's Yoga, and the Bahar School of Yoga books, and look at what they're saying about breath and actually categorize it. What type of breath helps with pain? What breath work cures this, what breath work cures that, and so on and so on. So this is going to be my project coming up the next year, is to really take those books apart. So breath has really got captured my imagination right now.
Interesting. So how can breath work really help us because in order to create, so I titled this, to change your future, you have to change your present, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so what I was meaning by that was that if you're focused in your present, the present is the only time you really have.
Yeah.
Right? It's all just a series of present moments. So if you want to change the future, you have to change it in your present moment. And one of the ways you can do that is through breathing. So how does that actually help us by focusing on our breath?
Right. Let's just take basics, physical stuff. If any good dentist will want you to tape your mouth shut at night when you sleep. And they're talking about, the whole history of the growth of our jaws, our throat, the deformity of our teeth. So if you want to now change your dental bill, tape your mouth shut at night. My son, we were doing it first of all, then our 9-year-old's going, oh, can I try that? He's really got into it. But hey, guess what? He sleeps more soundly at night. He's not tossing and turning all the time. So this is one thing, that's the future. I became very motivated because there's my son, who I, of course, love. And I don't want to get angry with him, because I know that he will then reproduce that habit. It will damage him. And by bringing him up in a non-angry environment whenever possible, I change the future for whoever he becomes involved with, and his personal health. So then we have, if you can use breath to keep you relaxed, you will not build up the levels of cortisol in your body. You're actually averting a possible chronic condition in your system. I've seen many people just completely crash and burn through cortisol buildup, right? But the breathing and raising the levels of oxygen, absolutely, Holly. Then there's certain types of breathing where at the same time, it's very easy, you do like ratio 4 to 6, okay? 4 in, 6 out ratio. You raise the level of carbon dioxide in your blood. You activate more oxygen coming out of your cells, for example, so you have more energy. So right in that moment, you can change. I can change at 10 o'clock in the morning how I feel now. I don't feel tired now, even though I've just been at work all afternoon, work finished at 9. I'm actually feeling really good because I got up and did my breath work. And while I'm treating people, I am doing my carbon dioxide breathing today. So then I'm here. I alter the future in a very immediate sense. But if we're talking about longevity, who knows? I mean, Lao Tzu, right? Do you know Lao Tzu? He lived to, is it 250 years old or something insane? He said, no, he was getting ready to die. He said, yeah, I haven't got too much longer. And then he got this message. No. You got stuff to do, pal. You better figure out how to stay alive. So then he was alive for so much longer and gave us
I mean, they say the average human should be able to live for 140 years.
Yeah, there's something that we're not quite getting.
Stress is one of the big factors in reducing our telomeres.
Yeah.
So, it's one of the big things. But if you don't create the enzyme that you need, you can't. You decay. Like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think breath work would be an important part of creating more longevity.
Sure. And if you're aware of the blue zones, one of the things I find really interesting about Okinawa, which has the highest number of people that live to 100 years or over, they are drinking alkaline water. Someone told me a couple of weeks ago, because we got this.
I love alkaline water. It's my favorite.
Well, isn't that really curious? Of course, they have this lifestyle. They were in a ikigai, a group of 5 friends from the age of 5. The guy that went out to investigate them said, one group had been together for 95 years. Buddies. And later on, obviously, drinking sake every day together.
Something that's what it is, like feeling good. When you're feeling good and you're in a good environment and you have a good mindset, a lot is possible.
I think they're so natural. There's a lot about natural living. Yeah, right. This peroxide super interesting because I'm very suspicious of what is the cold sore virus called that sits deep in our body and it keeps coming out, and that this food grade peroxide is supposed to cure this, because I think inflammation is a really big deal. Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's difficult to get here in Sweden. I think we have to order it in from Germany. You know, I think if we look at the Blue Zone stuff, it's so fascinating as a starter. That's right, Holly. Yeah. And so it's really interesting, but I think you have to know what to do in terms of the mixture with the peroxide. Here he goes again.
Listen, honey, the right black girl can make you do anything. I like pretty girls. Most people like pretty girls. I like pretty girls. Everybody likes pretty girls.
Yeah, they're usually super fun. Yeah, that's
anyway, I didn't mean to derail you.
No, it's totally cool. It's totally cool.
But yeah, the food grade peroxide is really great for a lot of things. And you were talking about you were also talking about inflammation. You were going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Which I suffer from personally,
I think
actually.
That, the inflammation, of course, we want to level out the acidity in our body. And obviously breathing badly, sorry to be so crude, increases acidity levels in the body. And this relaxed state calms everything down as well. Because, you know, for me, just as a simple analogy, acidity means fire, get up and go. Hyper in some way, productivity is a sort of state of overactivity and heat, if that makes sense. Whereas the breath work can just like cool everything down and lower these levels. I mean, I use a lot of cold showers for inflammation as well, because I have a tendency towards that direction. I mean, you know, for me, I'm on a journey because I'm trying to solve my own problems all the time. And then I get into a practice and I go, well, it works, so I've got no excuse not to use it. So for inflammation, which was particularly before the hip operation, this was like superb. I got into the Wim Hof 20-day challenge thing and then just went from there. And I think that whole thing calms the whole system down, raises the immunity, is a great mood shifter for some reason as well. I mean, I love what it can do for the mood. And the biggest thing for me is lowering inflammation in the joints and the spine. But that is kind of mysterious inflammation, I think. And if we talk about my son's problem, it's an inflammatory problem. And I'm curious to know why the body might choose to attack itself. I have a sort of question about this. Why would the body attack itself in that way? What's really going on there? We might have an expert online here.
Well, let's see. Let's see. Holly has typed something in, so let me see what she's talking about. I think we're talking about food grade peroxide.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's right. It's true. That's true. And her mom actually helped cure herself from the particular type of cancer that was manifesting in her body by alkalinizing. Isn't that right, Holly?
Right.
I think I remember that story.
There was a doctor in Italy who was working with we cook with it. Carbon what do we cook with to raise muffins? Come on. But bicarbonate of soda.
Oh, baking soda.
Baking soda. Because you can, if you don't have a filter that can create the alkaline water for you, you can use this. But this guy was actually injecting various grades of solution into the areas where there was cancer and alkalizing them this way. Okay, really? That's fascinating. Yeah.
It is. Yeah,
The alkalization is really cool. And we live in a very, with excess sugar, excess wheat, there's a lot going on that, it just really doesn't work for the body. So I think, whatever toolkit we can put together that just works for us, because I think, breath is a completely individual thing. We've got to do everything we can right now. I think right now things are just breaking open. Everything, all the information is available. It's absolutely fantastic. Well, there's internet. I recommend anybody, you have a problem, just go ask and get practicing, see what happens.
So, my next question for you is going to be, how do we get involved with your course and what are the benefits we get from it? Aside of feeling better, maybe not aging as fast, reducing inflammation. Did I miss anything?
Exactly. Not, so certainly, what's it? You can apply. Oh, right. Wait, really? That's interesting. Okay. That's really fascinating.
I always put baking soda in pasta and also any sort of cooked beans as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. I'll remember that one. It's super useful. I just think, when we've got an enormous problem, we have to peck away at the edges of it.
Not all of them, honey. Not all of them. Pick your battles.
Yeah, right.
Wisely.
So people can get involved by coming and finding me, Fran Charlton, on Facebook or Instagram. That is Fran Charlton. And the information is on there, how to sign up. But if you are listening to Kia's podcast, you get a discount. I've opened a discount for you.
Yay!
Now I will say it, and you guys just have to listen carefully. And it's so simple. The number 30, so write 30 and off, OFF in small case. Okay, so that's a discount for you guys. And basically what I'm going to do, I shouldn't call it an intensive, but as we know, intensity teaches us something and we take up what we've really got from it and then we run with it. Like as we started talking about the Brian Rose courses, you have that intensity and you remember. So it's going to be a 4-week course. And the first week, we're literally just going to be putting basic practices in place to help you relax, not feel so frustrated, diffuse anger, really get out into a chilled out state. I mean, look, isn't it great that if you just do deep, slow, relaxed breathing for between 5 and 7 minutes, you actually switch on the rest and digest system in your body. It doesn't matter how you're feeling in your head, how emotional you're feeling, it will just switch on. This is so simple. So the first week, we're just going to focus on, just very basic stuff, your go-to when everything falls apart. That's, it's just really simple. Basic practices, because of course they may come and go, but you always go, oh yeah, what's the first thing I've got to do? Oh yeah, shut my mouth and breathe in and out my nose. Very simple. And I'm not going to, if people want to go and look at the science, it's all there on the internet. Nice to meet you, Holly. Just like go find out. This is going to be totally practical. This is going to be, right, this week I want you to do A, B, C, D. That's it. And there will be accountability sheets and an accountability group, because Kia, we know how to get shit done.
That's right.
And it's about accountability. I haven't decided whether I will put the accountability group on Thrive Tribe Hub yet, or with GI, or on Facebook. I think I'd like to push people towards Thrive Hub because it's not monitored. People can do stuff private there. Then week 2, we're going to get into practices that simply increase your cardiovascular ability without doing much more, actually, than sitting down and doing a breathing practice for 20 minutes a day. That is far out. I love that. It's a total hack, sorry. But it will also put you, this type of breathing we do that week will put you into like access to get you into a zone if you happen to be practicing something where you need to be in the zone regularly. So this is a really nice practice, get you focused. And so it's just going to be, this is what you got to do, go practice. Very, very practical, because I really do think we can hide behind all the theory and the spreadsheets and this and all the proof to try and convince people. I'm not interested in doing that. People can go and find out on the internet. The stuff I'm giving you, it's facts. It's just the way it is. I'm just going to dish it up as quickly as possible, not wasting anybody's time. I don't want to waste time in this course. Anyway, people are not paying me enough to waste time. You know what I mean? Pay me $3,000 and we can do several 2-hour sessions a week. But no, we're just going to do this. Week 3, we're going to look at this laser focused state. There's a really interesting breathing that the military tend to use when they're going into war zones. Many people use these sorts of breathing is to get you into this calm, steady state that's totally alert. And the plan with these is that there'll be go-to breathing techniques for situations. You go, okay, I'm going to do this now. Right, I just need to breathe like that. Hack, 10 minutes in. In an emergency, this is what I've got to do now. Do it in. So it's highly practical. As I say, I don't want to waste time. Then really, once we have this, like your foundation in place, your basic practice, go-to techniques for the situations, I'm really going to give you what I learned and how I managed to heal so quickly from my hip operation, which was not just a replacement. It was literally, they cut the bone of my hip off, repositioned it, and screwed it back in place so that my leg bone sat like that again. And for the first time in my life, when the other side should be done, but now they say I'm too old. First time in my life, I felt like I was standing on the ground. And the doctor was, he basically said to me, my question was, what can I do on this? Once you can walk, he said, do what you want. Well, I was back training when I was still on crutches.
Wow.
And there was something about this breathing technique that I understood that the universe is not out there. It's inside every single cell. And that is where the healing comes from. It's really inside us. And that is the pinnacle of my course. And with that breathing, you can just literally... disc replacement. I'm sorry, Holly, that's rough. Because what I found with this breathing, you can be in intense pain and you just give yourself the time to relax and go into the pain and breathe. With this type of, it's almost a mindset. Pain does go down or disappear or you fall asleep. But in terms of speedy recoveries, there's no way I should have been able to do what I could do in the time that I did. And this is before the operation. I heard it's all about breath, and I just got taken with this idea, and I wondered what that meant. And sure, the morphine helped. I was really able to go places with this. So it's a sort of toolkit with my real personal offering at the end of it about deep healing and how we can do this ourselves. So that's it in a nutshell, Kia.
Well, I love it. And I hope one of my favorite mantras that I've had my whole life is breathe through the pain. And I'm not talking about just physical pain either. I'm talking about emotional pain and mental pain. Breathe through the pain. So, and this is before I learned anything about breath work. It was just in me to just breathe, girl. That is what you will hear me say when I am triggered, when I am about to have a panic attack, when I get bad news. You will hear me say, breathe, girl.
And how many times I find myself just kind of going,
take a breath.
And I don't even realize I'm stressed. It's like,
It is. It is. And you know what? I also teach it to my kids.
Oh,
So when they're angry, I always tell them to breathe, especially my little one. I really went hard on him about breathing. Like, and when he was feeling outraged and angrier, because he has a big brother who likes to pick on him, it infuriates him. Right. And so I'm just like, we got to breathe. Let's just breathe. Let's just calm down. We got to calm down. This is how we calm down. So my point of this whole little backstory,
yeah.
what aside of the importance of breath work,
Mm.
is that I think that kids should be being taught this too. So maybe sometime you will
Yeah.
have time, since you're a serial entrepreneur, to create a course for parents to help their kids with
Right.
breathing, because
Right.
the earlier you learn this, the better, I think.
We've got to. We've got to. I mean, we've got to think like in our children, we're actually creating the future of the human race.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
For more conscious, awake parents, which I think is the sort of audience that you have, we need
Mostly.
to focus on helping the parents
and helping the children, right?
You know, in that moment, you know, being able to give the parents, the children, this idea through the parents, you know, breathing together through stuff. Yeah, I will definitely do that, because I've got some really cool stuff that I'd started to do with George to help him through his stuff. Because, you know, he's a brilliant empath, which has caused him to step back in a certain way, which they want to give the diagnosis, I think, of slightly autistic and ADD. And I'm like, actually, if you speak to people that know about empaths, he's a total empath. Like, he'll have somebody in front of him, and the reason he gets confused about how to communicate is because he can see directly through people, and he expects them to communicate with him from themselves. And then some other crap comes out of their mouth. You know what I mean? That's not who he experiencing in front of him. And I think this is what we're dealing with these modern kids. They know exactly who's in front of them. Then they act from, I guess we could easily say the ego is an easier way. Whereas our children are right there, and they're actually, they're just confused. It's like, it doesn't make sense what this person in front of me is saying, because it's not what I know they are or who they are.
It's amazing.
We've got to speed up and figure out how to help the kids translate the world. It's a really tough one. I know there's nothing wrong with him, and I know he doesn't need a diagnosis, but the diagnosis fits the modern thinking about what these kids are.
Yeah,
but they're not.
My son is diagnosed with ADHD, but he is unique. He just sees things and feels things differently. He's very sensitive. So we've learned over the years, is why I homeschooled forever, because we learned through the years how to handle it. Now his little brother is sensitive in a different way. So he's more capable of being in the school system. And I don't know if I'll put him in public school yet either, but he's in private school now. But he can interact with people in a different way, but yet at the same time he's really sensitive. And I think, you know, we want the best for our children. And knowing who they are. And sometimes you can't just agree with the doctors, and sometimes you have to try to think outside of the box and have creative ways to help your children to thrive. I think that's
I mean, I think the only reason to get
no judgment though.
I think the only reason to get a bit of paper is for the teachers to know how to teach that kid what they've got in front of them.
Well, it didn't help me much in my situation. It did alleviate some of the stress of understanding why he was behaving in certain ways, but it just sort of launched me on this path of kind of like what you said with your son when he had those vaccinations and he had this response to it, and you had to sort of deep dive into educating yourself and studying to try to figure out how best to help him. This is what happened to me when my son got diagnosed with ADHD. So I was like, like Holly said, they put her on Ritalin. The first thing I said was, no judgment for people that it works for some people, but for me, I said, give me strategies. What strategies? And that's kind of what I went down that path of, and that's how I ended up homeschooling him. And now he's in 11th grade, and he goes to a technical a private technical academy, like a private technical school.
Right.
And because that is what he loves. He likes working with his hands, and and there's multiple intelligences.
Right.
And I think the modern school system doesn't really they only teach you one specific type of intelligence is intelligence, and that's not true. You know, so I think as parents, if you advocate, you know, for your children the best that you can.
We've got to go for it. And Sweden, I love it here, but it's so squared away. It's very difficult to get outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Holly says Ritalin didn't even work for her. It probably was even the wrong med. So, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that they're so sensitive. I did a session with Lamia and George. She works with parents and children, and I really saw him and the struggles that he's having. And if he doesn't get to a place at the Montessori school in August, we're going to have to leave the country. I'm that committed to his well-being.
I feel that. I would do it. I mean, I was in Miami and I was like, I'm taking my son out of school. I'm not going to let him fail. I'm going to take him out of school and homeschool him. Everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
That's like homeschooling.
You know,
and I moved from Miami to Washington State, which is where I live now, where like 90% of the or maybe it's not that much, but so many people homeschool. It's like a thing here. It's like the norm. And so there were so much more resources and acceptance and groups and things that we could. So I totally feel that. I mean, you got to be, if you're not committed to the success of your kids, I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll know August, September. And I've told George I'm totally committed to his health and well-being. And he understands, I totally understand his situation. And we will leave the country if, because it's against the law here in Sweden. They have to go to school.
Wow. It's so funny. It's so different in every country with the laws and everything like that. It's interesting to discover. And speaking of Sweden, you're there because of your honey business.
That's right.
And what is going on with the honey? I need to order some honey. I've slacked on ordering honey.
Okay.
I want some honey.
Oh wow, it's been okay. So
best honey in the world right here.
Not the good news. Okay, so I think when we met, we had about 100 bee societies and we were growing. Then that winter, we went from about 100 bee societies down to 27. Yeah, that was, and we called the local experts. We explained the symptoms. They didn't know what it was. And we were, well, obviously devastated, confused, of course. Symptoms were really weird, just like literally they had stock. All the bees had disappeared. They had food, they had everything they did. So combinations of stuff. Then we come to the summer. So my husband encourages the bees to swarm so he could breed more bee societies. He got up to about 65 societies that summer. Winter comes again, and it's back down to 25 bee societies again. You know.
So in the winter, they're dying.
Yeah, we would normally only lose maybe 3-4 bee societies, and that we were always below average. You know, to only lose that many bee societies when you have about 90 to 100, that's pretty normal. But to lose 2/3 of your stock, and then the next year to lose just under half of your stock, this is so strange. So last year the queens wouldn't breed. There was no swarming, there was no expansion. So we've gone into this winter with maybe, I don't know, maybe 30, maybe. So now we wait with bated breath for them to wake up, which will be in about maybe April, May. And we will know then what has happened. In the garden so far, only 2 out of 8 have gone. We have bees sort of scattered around. So we'll let you know. So we made honey last year. The quality was unbelievable, of course. The curious thing was there was a wash of flowers and so much heather honey. We're like, my God, this is going to be a great year. Okay, we don't have many bee societies, but there's flowers. No, we made about 25% of what we would normally make in a year from each bee society. And a lot
I
of
better get in on this honey game really quick before there's no more honey.
You better buy what there is, guys.
I better go now. Oh no.
We don't know. We don't know. I know they've talked about them being under threat, but Kia, you know, I live out. Well, we did live deep out in the forest, deliberately taking a low yield because it was in a clean area for bees, super organic, no poisoning, hardly any traffic. So this is really mysterious. We just don't know, and we will see.
Killing the bees.
Third year of troubles, the bees' immunity should build up against whatever it was. So we'll know better this year where we stand. We still have honey, but the interesting thing is, I don't know if it's an economic situation, but our internet sales have completely dropped off as well, which is really strange. People have almost stopped. I don't know. They've stopped buying honey also. So it's been a very odd economic situation, I think, due to COVID.
That's strange. Yeah, probably.
Financial, don't know. Hard to say. There's so many factors at the moment. So we'll see about the bees. There'll be some left. I mean, you know, if we only have like 2 or 3 societies die, then we know we've got business still, and we will. Well, it's, you know, not really a business anymore. It's more like we need to try and save the bees. So fingers crossed. I'll let you guys know what's happened. But the yield quality was amazing, and I've still got loads of it in my cupboard in there.
Well, I want some, that's for sure. Yeah. I love honey.
Oh, I must say.
Yeah, Holly says it's probably the pandemic.
Yeah,
I probably, yes. Hopefully, you know, one day things will normalize in this world, and hopefully, and we, you know, and hopefully it'll be at the same time where the bees are bouncing back and the honey business will thrive again.
yeah. Who knows? You know, they talk about bees being like the canaries in the coal mines. Do you know that thing where they used to have the birds?
Yeah.
In the coal mines, if there was a gas leak, people have talked about bees in that context before now. It's a possibility. We don't know that nature really is mysterious. It does exactly what it wants.
Wow.
Doesn't ask for permission.
Wow. Well, fingers crossed it will get better. Yes. So I have one more question for you before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
So if we want to change our future and have a better experience, what advice would you give aside of doing breath work? How can we create a better future from our present moments?
Yeah. I would say spontaneously and based on what I've learned this week, we need to literally change our minds. And I don't just mean physically is super important. We need to find whatever techniques we can to decake our neural endings, you know, the connectivity and connection endings. Check out havening. Please do yourself a favor, because this is also great for working with kids. We need to absolutely take care of we have an experience. The experience is formed and stuck. We need to find whatever method works for us to decalcify our physical experience, because it's just holding us back. Just do what it takes. And the major thing is life's just too short, actually, to mess around. And if you take current behavior to their conclusion 10 years from now, 5 years from now, even in some cases, where are you actually going to end up? And if it's not where you want to be, stop it. You know, where I've just got my dream job, they literally say in there, Swedes are very polite normally. Listen, if you don't want to work here, if this is not doing it for you, life's just too fucking short. Leave. Don't be. I know this is like, I understand we're in total economic crash sometimes and we've got to keep that job, and we've just, there's a point where you have to take a deep breath. No, be extremely clear about what you do want and leave that job if you can. And I'm serious, you may feel you can't. I walked out of a job 3 weeks ago, said, this is not sustainable. I'm not going to be here. I really put us in economic problem.
Distress.
Really.
Yeah.
But the place where I knew I wanted to work from the moment I came to this city in January, and I was really surprised I didn't even get to the interview first time, called me, interviewed me, offered me a contract job, which is like gold dust here, immediately. I can't tell you the levels of fear I went through to leave the money. I literally left the money and we really needed it, to put myself in the way of a much higher, better opportunity for myself.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard all this from all our great teachers, and I never believed it until I really took a deep breath. I said, okay, I got to do this because I can't do that anymore. And so, yeah, in a rambling kind of a way, please stop doing what you don't want to do. Just stop it. You know, then the future will be better for all of us.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Fran, for sharing that. I know that you are good on mindset. And you can follow Fran also on Buddha Mindset on Instagram as well. You have a lot of great tools about discipline and how to just move forward in a successful manner, which I love. The breathing edition is amazing. We've got that discount code for you.
And you know, these posts I put out here, they are from me. They're genuine. You know, I put out Buddha Mindset, beautiful pictures with something. They really, really are genuinely from me. And I just hope people just go, oh yeah, it gives an idea, or, you know, opens up a conversation, or just makes people stop and think and take a moment and go, yeah, that's interesting. You know, what does that mean? What is meditation? Or what's that today? Or how do I rise above and look through? And I post those usually directly after my morning practice, when I'm most connected with the blue sky of Shiva, the universe inside my heart. Whatever happens to be that day.
So, oh my gosh, Fran, I got to tell you, thank you so much for being a guest today. I really have appreciated getting a chance to catch up with you and to see what's going on with the honey and to find out what's going on with your breath work and learn about rebirthing. This has been so interesting. Wow. And I think if we do some of these practices, like you said, find someone who has a method that resonates with you. Please. And just do the healing work and take these steps to make your present moment better, because by improving that present moment right now, it means that your future has a chance to be so much better. And that's what we want. We want to feel good now and in the future, you know, to be happy, to be at peace.
And I tell you, the time is right now.
Right now.
We are able to do so much more now than we could, like when I started with this shit when I was like 17, 18 years old. It was like wading through mud when I was a kid. Now it's like we are racing cars now. The floodgates are open. You know, if you want to get well and heal, it's so open. You know, jump on the tsunami, man. It's like humanity is on a massive, massive healing wave at the moment. So go with the flow. Just find somebody and get it done.
Absolutely. There's no reason to wait. So I want to thank you so much for being a guest. It has been a pleasure. I am going to put you in the green room and wrap up the show. If you have time for a proper goodbye, we'll say a quick one because I got to dash to get my kid from school. But if you don't, I totally understand, because I know it's really late for you in Sweden. So I appreciate your time. And thank you for being a guest. And I'll see you in a minute then.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Well, that was awesome. It was a great time catching up with my friend Fran. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. It has been a fun, I don't know, what is it, an hour and a half? And thanks for tuning in, Holly. It always means so much when my girls turn out for me. So thank you for that. And George, thanks for tuning in, sweetie. I'm glad you could make it. I know it was late today, but things happen, you know. It's a time change, and I really lost track of time. Like, I didn't organize that well. I mean, I admit it. Who's perfect? Not me. None of you are either. So that being said, remember, this has been your reminder that you are amazing and you deserve to live a wonderful, happy life of your dreams, whatever that is for you. And it's up to you to make that a reality. And you can do that by shifting your paradigm. And how do you do that? Like Fran said, with your mindset, it starts with what you're thinking. So get clear on the thoughts that you think about. Be present and conscious and think good thoughts. What is it? There's this poem that I love. I think I've said it on here before, but I think it goes like this. Um, your mind is a garden and your thoughts are the seeds. You can plant flowers or you can plant weeds. The choice is yours. And your reality is going to reflect that. So just remember, the first step is knowing that you deserve it and that you're worthy of it and you are more than enough and that you are amazing. And if you forget, come back next week and I'll remind you again. And with that, this has been your reminder that you're the shit. And I'll see you, not next week, in 2 weeks. I'm traveling. So when I get back from my trip, go to my Instagram. You can find my new photo shoot pics that I'm going to be doing in Los Angeles there very soon. You can see the old ones and see what other positive things I'm putting out in the world. But in 2 weeks, we'll be back.